this is another thing that people don't always talk about. I know that you could probably make an argument that the MCU would probably get big because of what Robert Downey Jr. did, but people forget the role Blade had with comic book movies in the late 90s. If those movies weren't successful, they got to sell everything.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like the way that they don't have the full rights to the X-Men. Well, they do now, but they didn't. Or the way they don't have the full rights to Spider-Man. They wouldn't have the full rights to any of these.
Yeah, they would have had to sell everything. They weren't producing anything good. They weren't making a profit. And so they were just throwing out, all right, let's sell this character to that person. Let's sell the Hulk and Namor to Universal Studios. We'll give Spider-Man over to Sony. They were like, yeah, we'll keep, Captain America and Iron Man, because nobody cares about them. At the time, X-Men were the biggest thing. And so they sold that to Fox and they were able to make some money. But they kept Blade, and Blade made a lot of money.
That's actually insane that Marvel Studios was like, we had to sell all of our good characters, like all the characters that people know and love, Spider-Man, the X-Men, etc.
Yeah.
And they were like, and we're just going to have to kind of float around and make things do for a while. And then Kevin Feige was like, you know what? I can make something with what we've got. Like, it's hard to imagine Captain America and Iron Man not being a big deal. Like, being like throwaway characters.
Yeah.
Like, that's very hard to imagine. And Kevin Feige, not single-handedly, but like, he's like had the vision to go for this thing and turn them into like the superheroes. Like, when we have like Halloween or like Spirit Week and Superhero Day at school, I don't see Batman and Superman very much. I see Spider-Man, I see Iron Man, I see Black Panther. More than anything else. It's wild that in the span of just like a decade, Kevin Feige was able to take unknown superheroes and make them like the superheroes.
If you were to look at his track record, he was involved in a lot of those Marvel films. So he was building relationships with Fox, with Universal Studios. I think on a couple of the Spider-Man, you'll see his name as a producer. So his vision was already there. I don't think the infrastructure was set in place for these collaborative, and I don't think the movie industry had blown up yet in the way that it's doing in the last like 10 years for them to even conceive of this thing where it's like, we're going to connect 50 movies together and so there was too much risk, I think, on their end. He had been trying for a while because in one of the movies, I think Spider-Man 2, they make a reference to Doctor Strange. They're trying to think of what to call Dr. Octopus, and they say like, maybe we can call him Doctor Strange, and then the editor's like, no, that's taken. So the universe was kind of already there, and I'm wondering
back
if
then only a few people would have caught on.
No, I didn't really know that much about Doctor Strange when I was a kid and I first watched it. I heard of him later on, but
like, who is this guy?
I was maybe 10 when Spider-Man 2 came out, so I didn't have access to comic books like that. The history of Marvel is
it's very much an underdog story.
Yeah, like when the documentary comes out, whenever it does in like the next 40, 50 years, it's going to be pretty impressive when we get even more information out there, because they weren't even sure if Iron Man was going to work. You know what I mean? And then there were even rumors that if Disney hadn't moved some of their org chart around, Feige was going to dip and go over to Warner Brothers to help out DC. I think this was...
I know DC wishes that had happened.
Yeah.